speak. Okay, can somebody share my slides, please?
Sure. Just 1 second. I thought you are sharing.
Oh, right. Okay, I can share if you like.
I think it'll be better if you share. Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, I've cut this down a bit. So I'm just going to talk about a project that we've been doing as part of the Hidden Homeworkers project that Rohan mentioned.
No, Lucy, if you can't share it, I can share it for you. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me see. Yeah, let me share it. Yeah, just 1 second. Okay. Can you all see it now? Can you share? Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. I think I can see it.
That's good. Yeah. So you go ahead then. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to just talk briefly, and I'm going to focus these slides somewhat. So I'm going to cut them down a bit. This is a sub-project within the Hidden Homeworkers project that Rohan mentioned, which is an EC project that we're working on. We're an NGO called Homeworkers Worldwide, based in the UK. We're working with Tradecraft and HomeNet South Asia. And a key thing that we're doing, can you go on to this slide with the circles on?
Not this one?
Yeah, that one. Okay, that one. Okay. Yeah, just briefly, this is the Hidden Homeworkers Toolkit, which we are producing. Basically, we have done some qualitative research interviewing practitioners that have been working in homeworker supply chains. And we've also included reflections on the work that we've done with Cividep India into leather footwear supply chains, trying to draw out best practice in doing this work. So I'm going to speak a little bit about that, about the lessons that have come out of that work. I guess the first thing, can we go on please to the next one, please? That one, yeah, okay. This is just, this little infographic really is to summarize why we think transparency is so challenging around homeworking. The black side of the diagram is really outline the current situation when many brands either ban homeworking or they give mixed messages to suppliers. This creates an environment. If you say to suppliers, you mustn't use homeworkers, then not surprisingly, when you audit your suppliers, they will tell you that they don't use homeworkers. So this kind of creates a vicious circle, and it actually makes homeworkers' conditions even more hidden because they're not supposed to be there. And so as a result, it's even more difficult for homeworkers to speak out about their situation. So the first thing really that we would be pushing brands and also suppliers, first tier suppliers, is to adopt a homeworker policy, a policy that recognises that homeworkers may exist within supply chains and that they recognise this is a valid way of working, of organising your production, and that also that people higher up the supply chain commit to working with lower tier subcontractors and suppliers to document existing conditions and work together to improve things. So that's the really important first step of what brands and suppliers can do to improve transparency for home workers. Yeah, okay, could we, yeah, next slide, please. So these, just running through now, these lessons really are what emerged from these interviews with different practitioners. So different things. So as I've said, the first thing is to have an inclusive homeworker policy, to include homeworking within your guidance for suppliers or your documentation, whatever kind of things, but that says this is a valid way of working. That's so important. It's also really important for the home workers that they're recognised as workers. I think that comes out from the research that you've done and research that many other people have done. In order to take that a step further, there is the importance of mutual brand supplier relations. There's a relationship of trust that there's, it obviously works best where brands have been working with suppliers for some time, where there's a commitment to maintain that relationship. We also need to look at brand purchasing practices, because alongside a commitment to recognising home workers, we need a commitment to look at the purchasing practices of the brands, which, as we know, can impact on the working conditions of workers right along the chain, not just home workers, but pushing workers in factories and subcontracted units also into conditions of forced labour or reducing pay rates. So this is part of that willingness to look at the drivers at the top of supply chains that may be causing bad conditions. The other end of the spectrum, what's really important is to have resource capacity within country, close to where the home workers are. So it really helps if the brand or the supplier or the brand has got local in-country staff, or they work closely with local civil society organisations. And then ideally, as we've said before, if there's some organisation that is speaking for that with the home workers can be members, ideally of a trade union or some other organisation that they can speak and participate in this process. Okay, next slide, please. So the next step really is to map the supply chains. So there's a process of actually unpacking what is going on within a supply chain. And again, the home worker policy begins that process to happen, enables that transparency to begin. But in order to get a true picture, you need to balance it with engagement with the home workers from the bottom up too. So the kind of community-based engagement that Pratika was talking about, to document what is actually going on at the moment. And also what's really important is to document the roles and responsibilities of the different actors in that supply chain. So the subcontractors and the subcontractors, and it's to work out who is doing what and who is actually performing a role within that supply chain. So the agents may be, for example, in leather footwear, we found that the agents were really important. They were transporting leather uppers from the factory out to villages that could be an hour's drive away. So it was really, that role was really important. The home workers weren't in a position to take on that role. They needed the agent's job. They were also doing really important work in quality control. However, there are other supply chains where the agents are not doing anything particularly important, and possibly they're just taking a cut. And so that it's important that you get that nuanced information. I think the other things on the list are different ways that have been developed. I think stitching centres is one method of managing home working, where the work is moved into stitching centres. That can work, but they have to be really local so that the flexibility for the home workers is preserved. And I think that's the challenge with stitching centres. And again, it's so important that if you are going to develop that kind of approach, that you're working really closely with the home workers, so that you can make sure, for example, I mean, somebody's been talking about caste issues. If the home workers are concentrated within a particular caste, there may be parts of a village that they can't access. So again, it's really important that stitching centre is located in a place that the home workers are able to go to safely. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just, it's kind of drawing out some of the lessons from this piece of research that we've done. That there are very practical tools for improving transparency within home worker chains. And these tools that we've gathered information about have been paper-based tools. So it's really why I'm really interested to hear the results of this particular research project, to see, to understand more about the opportunities and also the challenges in using technology. But there are, it's perfectly possible to document home workers' work and their wages, and to work out, to relate piece rates to the minimum wage, for example. We're producing a toolkit as part of the Hidden Home Workers project that we'll be launching shortly, that will make some of those resources more accessible and available. But some of them are already out there. There's some on our website, and there are in other places too. I mean, a key lesson of this process is that it does take time. Building trust does take time. So alongside having that policy that recognises people, it's also building those relationships. So working with somebody that's rooted within the community, a local CSO partner, can help build that trust. And there's also, can avoid some of the dangers around gender or caste issues. Okay, I think finally, I think important thing to say there is that multi-stakeholder initiatives have a really important role as well, because what we've learned from the pilots that we've done is that it's so important that you have that collaborative approach. So MSIs can serve a really important role in terms of bringing a group of brands together, and that can increase the leverage on different supply chain actors. Okay, next one. Okay, this is really an overview of what you do. This will be my last slide of what a brand can do. So have they got the policy in place? Then bringing that policy to the attention of the suppliers, mapping supply chains, drawing up an action plan with the different stakeholders, ideally working with other brands to extend the leverage. And then also, I mean, this is written for hidden home workers, so you could get involved in the project as well. Okay, I think that's...
Are you finished, or you want to move to the next slide?
That's really done, yeah. Well, you could go to that. I think the next, what is the next?
Next slide? Okay.
Yeah, okay, just quick. I think most of these I've talked through already.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. I mean, I think you've communicated the key points.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. And, you know, what's important as we take the context that Lucy's given, as well as some of the possibilities in terms of interventions, we are now moving next to, you know, the importance of organizing informal workers. The fact that they are not seen, they are not known, they are hidden, they don't have a voice, just increases their vulnerabilities. So now we are moving to Seva Bharat, who's going to do the next presentation. And if I can request them to keep it really, really short to about 10 to 12 minutes in the interest of time. So thank you. Over to you, Anuhita and Anupama Ben.